Welcome, CvCISO podcast listeners, to our show. This is show number 40.
Yep, episode 40.
40, man, rocking and rolling.
I
40
know.
episodes. Thanks for everyone that helps make this possible. Meg, all the work you're doing with this show, and the people that watch it and support it. This is great. It's fun, and hopefully it's valuable to everyone. We're here without Evan today, but that's fine. That means we'll probably stay on track. Maybe.
I don't know, Jordan.
And of course, the lovely Meg with us, myself, Jordan, and the lovely Timothy Hofford.
I'm so pretty.
No, lovely.
Thanks for joining us.
Lovely.
You're lovely.
And it's my topic today, and here's what we're going to talk about. This will be a nice, buzzy topic. We're going to talk AI risk. AI risk. Have you guys heard of this thing called AI? Apparently, it's going to go places.
With or without us.
The buzz.
Yeah, it's going to go places without us. Exactly.
It's all the buzz.
We're
Everybody knows AI now. Like, everybody talks about AI, not just in our industry.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of, a couple things that we're going to talk about today, if you can stay with us, is, I wanted to kind of frame the conversation at first, just kind of talking about what I see, my clients and, other businesses kind of asking about with AI, and maybe get some of your guys' opinions on how to approach those conversations. But then also, the news just dropped that OpenAI launched Operator, this AI agent that can do things for you, and we're gonna chat a little bit about that demo and talk through some risks. It's gonna be some fun.
Is that a paid? Do you have to pay for that?
Paid, yeah. I believe it's subscription based to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
We all knew that was coming, right?
Well, of course.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the start of it, and you see them. Well, we'll get into that in a bit. All right,
Okay.
So that'll be fun. But I mean, we'll get there soon. But first, I just wanted to kind of ask you guys, because this actually came up with me and a client, and I'd be curious kind of what your thoughts are from a vCISO perspective, or someone who's, advising, giving security consultation. But I had a client that, so clients they all say the same thing. They all say, if we don't jump on this AI stuff, they're seeing all these AI, people at trade shows, and everyone has AI, and their feeling is, if we don't do this, we're going to fall behind. And so they want to do it. They're just, I don't even know what. I just do AI because I don't want to fall behind. Let's just start the topic right there. What do you think about just that feeling that businesses have about AI?
I think you're right, Jordan. That's what we started out with. Initially was everybody wanted AI. They didn't know why they wanted it. They just wanted it because everyone else was doing it, or maybe a competitor had published something saying, hey, we used AI to do this, right? And I think your statement is correct in the world wants AI, but they don't know why they want AI. They like it because it's cool, and they sit at home with ChatGPT, the free version, and ask it whatever. But for our sake, being security professionals, there's a lot more to it than the shiny object sitting on the shelf. How do we control not only the usage, but the data that goes back and forth? And that's the most difficult component to sell to the business, because they just want it now. They want to snap their fingers. They want initiatives. They know it can potentially save money on processes, procedures, things like that. But then it becomes, to add a wrinkle to this whole discussion of AI, operator, and other things, is it AI or is it a bot?
Yeah, like words are just being intermingled, and yeah, you kind of do have to take a step back and what are we actually talking about? What is this thing doing?
But aren't bots AI in their own way?
A bot is rigid. So if I see Meg, and Evan brought it up with Zero Trust, right, a couple weeks ago, a woman she comes into from this other place carrying a stack of papers, or I think Lyle actually said it, stack of papers that she gets off the printer. Then she brings it in because then she's got to scan it into the system to read it digitally. Well, there's a process for that. So if you take that step and somebody's doing 10 things in a row that at the end is just an output, it's not AI. It's a bot that says from step 1 to 10, I'm going to do this thing. That's it.
Yeah. It's just automation.
Exactly. It's automation without the AI because you're not asking AI to do anything or come up with a solution. You know what the solution is. It's these 10 things that at the end, that's the result, the 10 things, and it's saved. Maybe it saves, 400 hours, or in our case, we instituted a bot that saved 4,000 hours, people hours in a year. That's significant when, initially that came in as AI, but it ended up being a bot.
Hmm.
And Tim, for the folks that maybe don't know, like you took a pretty swift approach with AI at your organization when you started hearing just people just started wanting to incorporate it and wanted everything. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's always an unpopular and a tough decision to make. But as soon as I caught wind of, folks wanting to use, at the time, Bard, they were looking at a ChatGPT, and I forget the other one. What I did is I went to the firewall team and say, hey, look, anything .ai, I want you to shut it down.
Shut it down.
Hey, we don't have a policy. We don't have procedures. We don't have any idea of what we're getting ourselves into. Yes, people are using it. But why are you using it? Right? What data are you putting in there? And when you start to just take a step back and make that hard decision, you're not popular first and foremost. You're the guy that all of a sudden everybody is, hey, why can't I get to .ai whatever? And I'm like, well, because I shut it off, or we blocked it. Why'd you block it? And so then you have to have that hard discussion with leadership on why you did it, and the gaps that we have. We can't control it, right? Auditing and logging, first of all, like, I don't know what Jordan's putting in there. I don't know what Meg put in there. I don't know where it's going, who has it. So in our roles, sometimes it's not the popular decision. It's a tough decision to make. And then you always have to answer like, who told you to do that? Well, nobody. I just did it. Right. And it's difficult for us, Jordan, and for folks that are running managed services, and that's what you're hearing from your clients. I couldn't imagine how difficult that decision is to say, hey, look, take a step back, turn it off for your company, first of all. Now, have people submit use cases, have a process where that's submitted so somebody's actually vetting what you're using it for. If you're just using it to write a job description, okay, is that Copilot to help you instead of full-blown AI where you're putting information in? Copilot you can control because it's in your environment, or something else, right? If you're a Google shop, maybe Gemini or something like that. That's inside. But long answer, it's not hard. It makes us the unpopular kid in school, and we take a lot of heat for it, but sometimes those decisions benefit you in the long run. And right now we're seeing that. It took us months to build an AI policy. We did that. We decided on technology. We decided on a procedure for intake. It's still not going as fast as the business would like it, but there we are, right? We're taking our road cautiously to try to protect the organization versus I just want that thing.
Is there anything specific that you said to the leadership that you felt landed the best, that where they actually started thinking, okay, you're looking out for our best interests, and as much as we want to go full bore, we appreciate you making us think about this?
Yeah, awesome question, because it's a couple different things in that realm, right? I mentioned the audit and logging. No matter what version you're using, unless you pay a price for it, maybe ChatGPT, the enterprise version, you're paying for a license to get some guardrails. But the two things that are lacking, right? Auditing and logging. So if you put intellectual property into LLM and you don't have the right licensure. I don't know that you put that in there and I can't get it back, right? Once it's there, sorry, it's there. So if you put something out there that's proprietary to you in the business, that's it. Everybody else knows what you're doing, right? Will they find it right away? Probably not. But the idea behind it is it's out in space. It's like you just put, hey, here's what my business is doing for 2025 out there, and here's all of our IP.
Yeah.
So is that the main concern with enterprise or even small businesses, is that you're putting your intellectual property into the universe? Is that what the big concern is with AI?
I think it's more than that, Meg, because again, without auditing and logging, remember the LLMs are constantly learning, right? So if whatever you put out into space is out into space for somebody to find, eventually somebody's going to find it. Most likely, probably the adversary will find it. But without any controls around AI, it just becomes a mess because, maybe, think of legal contracts for a second, right? We all deal with legal contracts, vendor contracts, things like that. What if you're trying to find a commonality between them and you say, you know what? AI could help me do that. I'm just going to dump these 50 documents into AI. Tell me what I'm missing or where I'm missing. Well, all your contracts just went out into space.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and I think, I think part of the answer there too is that it depends, because there's so many use cases, like how, certainly intellectual property is going to be of high concern, but it all depends on what AI, what you're using it for, and is it the accounting person? And now really it's not IP, it's financials, and it's
Could be confidential data
number.
related. Yeah, it could be confidential data related to, say, bonuses and payouts, since we're at that time of year, right? What if somebody puts all that in and says, hey, how do I determine all of the aspects from Jordan, Meg, and Tim from 2024 to now 2025, their performance? Do I have you start dumping all of that in there. Now all of your people's out there. What if somebody's not a very good employee, right? And that comes up somehow, and now that's out there. So it's even in chatbots that you build with AI and other things, you got to be very cautious on how you're building it, what goes into it, because who can view it, even in your own organization? Are you sure that AI is not going to adapt its own security access control at some point in time? So we take baby steps with these things to try to determine what goes out, who can see it, things like that, because it's not just AI, it's everything you build within that space too. So when you make a big leap into, say, Azure OpenAI, trying to containerize and control things, you still have to take it from a level of baby steps, because you want to make sure that all of the access control is in place and you're not going too wide open with everything. Even users, you don't want all of your users in there at one time to use it, because there's a lot of dollars tied to transaction tokens, and try to figure out that whole pricing model for looking at it when you're saying, oh, how many tokens, transactions am I going to do in a month? Who knows, right? We just know that we're spending a couple $100 a month. But what if our whole organization is using it? What if we have 5,000 people and now we say, hey, 5,000 people, go use the chatbot, go start putting stuff in there, go start uploading images to analyze, whether it's packaging, other things. And now your $200 went to, $3,000 a month. And, there's just so much to think about with AI and how we control it as security professionals without getting ourselves in trouble.
What are some of the ways that I think we started this podcast with, AI, everybody's talking about it, and if we don't use it, then we're going to get behind. What are some tool? I mean, are we just concerned about ChatGPT, or is it because of tools that are being created that use AI? Or, what is happening, I guess.
That's a great question, because that it is the tools. because they're coming out of the woodwork all over the place, and almost like so. One conversation I had with a client, it was like, their main line of business application all of a sudden has a AI integration, and it's just kind of like there, like it just kind of shows up, like all of a sudden, like, and it's like, okay, well, how do you have this conversation? Like AI is just showing up out of the blue everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
everything. I mean, you look at it, everything's .ai, right? You even look at like Grammarly, right, for writing documents. All of a sudden, there's
right.
a .ai for it. What is when I look at, we evaluated some vendors from financial to legal, right? What we're seeing is it's they're not designing something themselves, and no offense to any of the vendors out there that are creating these products and trying to sell it. But I think you're trying to sell people some magic with AI when really you're just connected to OpenAI, and you maybe created your own personas and prompts to do things with your application. Where's the logical separation of your data that's going in, and you're using the AI component of that tool? It's probably just all connected into the same pool of
What is there any kind of like mandate or like regulations? I feel like I should know this, but is there anything that kind of instructs vendors on what to, share, like the transparency of their security? Because the specific client, like they're like, oh, we're going to start using this. They told me they're going to start using it. And so then I have to figure out, oh, how do I communicate risk without making everyone mad? But I went to the website of this integration and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I wonder if I can find how they approach security for this particular tool. And there's nothing. It was crickets. I mean, there's a lot of like talk about how how good it is and how much it saves in time and stuff, but there's not like a disclosure of here's how we approach security with this tool. Is there anything that's
Governing
instructing vendors on
body or
how to be
something.
transparent about this?
I don't think so. You're making me like Google something here, which isn't great, but I don't believe there's any, to my knowledge, of AI regulations that says vendor has to do A, B, or C in the US at least.
Has
Well, it's almost
like
go ahead.
CMMC or NIST, have any of those come out with, here's another component that we are adding to our
There's a
standard?
management framework with NIST, and there's maybe some state regulations, but I think it's more regulations related to your PHI or PII, right? It's not necessarily driven by if you use AI in any capacity, you have to do these 10 things on the checklist, right? You have to abide by these. I'm not seeing that even in my Google search. I'm not seeing that.
It's almost like I would want, almost like food has nutritional facts, like
Right.
here's what, and it's like, if you could easily, I'm guessing if you reach out to the company, they probably have something that they'll offer about how they approach security and the tool they built, but it would almost be nice to have it just be public. Like, okay, where's the facts about how you guys are, where's the
Right.
source?
What are you using, right? What's the source? You can just say, hey, we're using OpenAI. I mean, you're not stealing anything. You're using something that you can connect an API to, right? You can even do it in Azure for OpenAI and connect to it. So what at the back end, what are you using? Right. Even if you see the little, there's kind of a symbol now for everything with the 3 little like star type looking things when you see AI anywhere. So if that's going to be branded to that type of thing, then what does it mean? But what are you connected? Could you say right in there when you're selling a product, could you say this is driven by OpenAI, this is driven by Gemini or whatever the thing is? Because does that give you ease with it? I don't think so, but because there's no controls yet, right? Because then you have to ask, are you paying for subscription? What do you do for controlling all the data that goes in and out?
Yeah, and then that also makes me think like, like pharmaceuticals, how you have to like all the side effects, when you see a drug commercial, it's like, maybe that's what it needs too. Like, hey, if using this AI, here's all the things that could go wrong. Here's our accuracy too. Like when we get into the operator, they shared in the demo, they kind of shared how they tested it and how accurate it was, right? It was like this percentage of accuracy or something, and they compared it to a human thing, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But even if that kind of transparency, like here's our tool, it's 50% accurate, at least
50, the other 50% of your data is leaked, right? Like you're right. There should be a disclaimer or side effects to all AI, because we're at the end of the day, we're just trying for businesses, right? And the three of us would admit that we're not AI experts. We may have implemented OpenAI and a chatbot where I am in my organization, but that doesn't mean that anybody in our organization is an AI expert. We're just trying to do it the best we can. And I think that's my best advice for people is just take baby steps. If you got to have that hard decision with executives or leadership, our jobs are to tell you that there's risk. It's not the most popular discussion topic when it comes to AI, but I think sometimes we just have to give the best advice is to say, look, hey, let's just block everything right now. Let's produce the use cases internally to say, Meg's using it for this, Jordan's using it for this, Tim wants to use it for this. Once you start evaluating those use cases, you'll determine that it's not just, it can be something internal or a product that you can purchase, that you could put some controls around. And I know I keep alluding back to Copilot, but that's kind of where our journey started, is with Copilot. Was it great at the time for the things that it was used for? Yeah. When you're talking about job descriptions or rewriting this, or tell me what's wrong with this contract, or how can I put a different cell of this for financial data when I want to compare the whole giant spreadsheet or data pool to something, but I want a column. Copilot did work really well for that, but we evolved to wanting, like I mentioned to Jordan a couple months ago, we started with a chatbot. We said, hey, let's do a basic chatbot. And then we kind of even evolved that over into January. Now our evolution was, oh, hey, you can connect this to real live data. There are updates you can do. It's security settings in the background. So we would have had this conversation in December, it would have been, if Meg asked, hey, what was the score of the Packers Viking or Bears Vikings game, right? It would say, hey, as of April 2023, I don't have any connection to current data. I can't give you the current score. Now with our connection that we made, yes, now I can tell you what the score of the game was yesterday, because there's a web plugin that you can put in there that you can get real-time data now. Because what we found is some people in the organization wanted to know, hey, what are the newest products in the market for X? And it can give you a link. So now you can go say, oh, product A is being produced by company A. Here's the link to the article. Those are things that we can do now.
And of course, when you start giving that bot access to the web, there's obviously some antennas that go up there, like, okay, let's make sure that we're doing this right. When you guys added that piece to it, was there anything that you kind of went through? How did you kind of assess the risk of that and kind of determine, yeah, this is good, we can move forward with this?
Yeah, it's looking at how the data comes in and understand because we pulled in Microsoft, right, to say, look, if we turn this on, I don't want my stuff to go out there. I want the answer to come back, but I want anything internally to stay there. Pretend like it's a Bing, a Google, whatever you want to call it, search. That's technically what you're doing. I know I'm simplifying that, but none of your data will go out. It's just a query to, say, a database that was there that you're looking for information.
So if I'm a organization, because like I think of my own situation, we're looking at a new LMS, or we were looking because we did purchase. That's a learning management system. But one of the key points for me was the AI feature, because it allows you to upload a PDF, and then the LMS creates a course for you online that you can then put on your website and give people free access to. So if you think of all those PDFs that we've shared through the CvCISO community now being accessible through a website that you just know, I can go here and I can click on this and I can watch the video and learn whatever was in that PDF. What do you recommend for organizations that are looking like tools like that, looking at tools like this? What is the responsible way of going about it?
Well, I think the responsibility, again, I'm not an expert in this, so I just made the decision, right? I think you have to evaluate it. What Jordan was saying, ask those other questions to it. So if there is AI, sure, it sounds great, Meg, for what you're going to do, right? It creates a course for you. Where is it going? And then after you implemented that, if you get 25 people to sign up for a cohort for a class, right? But where is their data going? Is it staying within your organization, or is it going out? I think those are the other questions you have to ask, because yes, LMS, we know if we put it in the cloud, we install the software, right? It's completely in ours, right? Based upon contract for unauthorized access, data sharing, confidentiality, the data security addendum or agreement that's in there, all those things in the contract. But does the product represent the contract? And I think that's where the tough decision is. That's the non-glamorous part of security, right? Is going through, like, whether you're partnering with a compliance officer or something on privacy. Security and privacy become very important in contracts, because once you sign it and buy it, you're kind of stuck in the four corners. What if you missed asking a question?
Yeah.
And the with that specific use case, I think you also want to think about it from the reliability of the content that it creates too. I heard a client actually shared this approach to it. I thought it was kind of a nice fancy way to say this, but they said their policy is HI after the AI, meaning human intelligence. Once you've ran something through artificial intelligence, it always needs to be also run through human intelligence to verify that what the artificial intelligence did is accurate, and it's what you want to actually put out
Right.
there.
That could be like a t-shirt, Jordan.
HI after the AI. It should be. Let's make it.
I was just gonna say patent
Starts. I hereby declare HI after the AI, even though I stole it from someone else. It's mine now. It's also important, before we shift topics here. You brought up the NIST thing, and that is I think a pretty good resource. The NIST AI risk management framework. They are putting things out there and building things to try to help. And I think it's kind of a living thing. They want the community involved to do it, but they did recognize, years ago, as I think when this first came out, that, man, we gotta get the community involved to build these things to help people understand and manage the risks of AI. You can get those documents, but it kind of a little over, whatever, 1,000-foot view of it is, so they talk about, in that document, they talk about the core functions of AI risk management framework. It's govern, map, measure, and manage is the framework. Governing meaning like establishing a culture of risk management, align AI risk management with organizational principles, and ensure accountability. And that's an interesting thing to say, because, essentially, when I read that, it kind of makes me think, establish a culture of risk management. So if you don't already have that, you're the Wild West with AI now. So it's going back to the fundamentals again that we always preach. It's like, it's nothing new under the sun. It's a risk like every other risk. And so if you don't have any, it's not about AI risk management as much as it's you need a risk management process, like whatever it is. Starting with you, Tim, it's like starting with policy and procedures. So have a stance on something, and then what are the steps? What are you going to do to evaluate? What are the questions you're going to ask of the AI tools? Map means understanding the context and categorizing the AI systems and identify potential impacts. So, putting each tool before you use it through that kind of rigor.
Right,
Measure.
it's a set of questions, right? You got to evaluate everything. If that means I just got to evaluate, I'm going to put KeyPass software, or somebody wants KeyPass software on their desktop, evaluate it, right? You evaluate it just like everything else before you say download and install, right? You should look at everything that way.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's maybe to lighten the mood a bit. It's like it doesn't have to be a long, drawn out process.
No.
Just have something where you're
Yeah.
not just willy nilly. Is that like the third time I said willy nilly?
But I think you make a good point there, Jordan, and I don't want to like just gloss over that. It's risk in something as simple as evaluating a product somebody wants to install. It could be an AI back tool. It could be just general software. We don't want to take a week or two to evaluate that, right? You should be able to, I usually pick up the phone and go to the vendor, right, directly and say, hey, I got some IT security questions. We're thinking about buying it. Doesn't matter if it's $40 or it's $4,000, right? Go to the vendor saying, what does your development look like? What's your security posture look like? Do you have internal risks? Have you been breached? The hardest question to ask somebody is, hey, have you been breached by unauthorized access or anything in the last year or so? You want that quick no, right? Because it's important with code to understand if you're a small shop doing that, are you controlling your own code? Because I'm going to buy it, right? I'm going to use it. It may be one person in my organization, but I want to know that I reached out to you directly and asked the questions or got in touch with your or IT security person to just ask those questions, right? Do you adhere to any assessment or audits on an annual basis, whether that's SOC audit for financial or ISO? Is it perfect? No, but at least it shows that you did something as the vendor
Due diligence.
to assess your own product.
Yeah. That's kind of what I did. I knew it had the AI, but that's nothing, that I specialize in or know a whole lot about. So when we were in the vetting process, I just made sure the right people were in the seats as we were talking to the organization about it so that they could ask their appropriate questions and make sure that it was cool.
Well, in the time we have left, I did want to talk about this operator thing. The OpenAI, just launched this AI agent operator that can act as if it's at your computer and start doing basic tasks that involve the computer.
Like, give me an example. Give me an example. What does it do?
So in the demo, they had it do a few things. So they had it like do an Instacart order, purchase basketball tickets, and order pizza or something like that. And they kind of demoed it. So it was like, you kind of give it this set of instructions like, hey, I want, and you can, and I think one of the things that they did was you can select a site. So they said, oh, here's Instacart. So clicked Instacart. And then they said, go to Instacart and here's my grocery list. They uploaded like a photo of their grocery list. And then it opens up a remote browser and starts clicking and typing, and it's just kind of going by itself. And what's the risks of that? You think that's that's ready for the market today, right, Tim?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's so I'll always come at it from the devil's advocate side, right? So yes, you're going to go to Instacart, but in watching one of those demos, the thing that I look at is, okay, you have to type this big long list, go to Instacart, look for linguine with clam sauce recipe, add those things to Instacart, except don't add like water and oil and black pepper because I have those items. Now do your thing, right? So, and oh, by the way, look at all recipes and then these other things. So you typed in a whole book first to get it to do a thing. And then for 2-3 minutes and in the one demo, it kind of is still doing its thing, and you still have to interact with it to say, the HI part of it, Jordan, for your t-shirt. You still have to say, oh yeah, that's fine. I want to use that store for Instacart. So I think it was Gus's or something like that, if I remember. So you still have human interaction. At the end of the day, it clicks a button and orders it. So again, me thinking like, not only did you say, go to Instacart and do all these things, and I had some interaction with you, but I'm authorizing you with my username and password to Instacart, and then I'm okay to have you click the button to order it and purchase it on my behalf. So what other information is AI gathering? My credit card information? My address? What if, Jordan brought up earlier, what if all of a sudden it's linguine and clam sauce for 4,000 people, right? And I only wanted it for 2, right? And I didn't pay attention to that. And all of a sudden, trucks backing up to my driveway saying, hey, we're here to unload all of this stuff. We're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's like, who's responsible? Like, who do you blame when your checking account just got emptied to buy some clam sauce?
And that's how I look at things. And maybe, again, I'm coming at it from too strict of a security mind, but it looks great. The demos look awesome, right? It looks like, hey, I barely have to do anything. Find me, I think in their big press release with Altman and the 2 other dudes, it was, you can book this travel, right? I want to stay at a lodge, blah, 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 by the Joshua Tree or something. And it did a thing, but you're still typing, right? You still have to like confirm all of those things. So I think not only from a security perspective, but the joy of researching things for me, like when I go on vacation, if we're all 3 going and you say, hey, Tim, find a spot for us to go. We want to stay near Evan, but not with Evan because, he gets kind of annoying or something, right? You start looking for, I like looking and researching for places. I don't need somebody to find it because at the end of the day, if I did, I'd call the travel agency and say, hey, look, can you my limit is $8,000 for the 3 of us, find a place, airfare, car, call me when it's all done.
I mean, and to be fair, they they did acknowledge that this launch is like testing, like it's very early on there, and they're trying to get feedback, and they it'll get better. I think they posted that it was like, what was it? It was like 38% accurate on one, like some company that kind of tests these things, 38% accurate, and a human accuracy is like 78. So they're like, yeah, see, I mean, there's a gap of how accurate it is. So we're not saying it's perfect and ready. And then they talked about the risk. I did think like it was refreshing, even though maybe, it seems like, hey, this is I don't know exactly where their head's at. I mean, with this AI stuff, I mean, people are just kind of like, I mean, it's just going fast, right? It did seem like they are thinking about the bigger picture of security. I'm going to share my screen actually here, because I took a screenshot of when one of the guys started talking about what they did to kind of what they thought through in terms of risk. Let me see. Here it is. Let me see. Is that okay? There we go. So he kind of said he made this point that like they've figured their biggest risk was misalignment, and then they broke it into 3 categories. Like the user is misaligned, which means like the user asks the operator to buy something illegal, and then they talk about what they kind of think are the mitigations for that. So building into it refusal for disallowed tasks, moderation models, post hoc detention, domain block lists that can't go to certain sites. And then they talked about the agent is misaligned. It makes a mistake and buys the wrong item. So, then they said their mitigation would be confirmations. So they are thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
And it is interesting. It's kind of refreshing. Okay, you're thinking through it. Is this exhaustive? Probably not. But it's like for that one especially, we talk about the clam sauce, and so the mitigation is it buys the wrong item or the wrong amount is confirmations or refusals to buy high stakes for high stakes tasks or watch mode. But then you think that mitigation it decreases the value, right? When you can't just like tell it to do something and walk away, or you walk away and you come back and it had a confirmation question for you and it didn't really do anything yet. Now it takes 3 hours because you have to keep answering its questions. Did it lose the value that it was supposed to?
Well, and what is it basing it on? I think when you look at the travel component that I watched, right? If you take those 3 silos and you're looking at the mitigation factors, what is it evaluating for the place you're staying at, right? Just because a picture is great. We all know VRBO, hotels, resorts, things like that we booked, right? It's not necessarily the picture part of it. Is it evaluating the reviews, the host, the company, whatever it may be? So these are all great, but there's a lot more to it. So when I look at this operator, and you're going to pay roughly, I think, $200 a month for this, is it saving you $200 per month? That's the part that I get back to is it is helping you with something, but you're also giving it some latitude to make decisions for you. Is it good organizational based decisions, or is it really just a personal operator? Like it's just a nice to have for those that are maybe paying for a Chat GPT today. So that's where I would really question the people that would want to use it in an organization. Is it organizationally helping you, or again, could I use like a UiPath RPA or something like that to do the robot process automation for RPA? Sorry, I threw the acronym out there. But could we use that instead of operator? Right? I don't want to pay $200 a month. I might want to pay somebody a few $1,000s to design it and set it and forget it. It's doing its thing versus a monthly basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. What you brought up earlier, it's like if like I can order a pizza in a minute.
Right.
It'll take me 2 minutes to tell AI to order me a pizza and answer all of its questions.
With all the toppings, right? What kind of crust do you want? Do you have allergies? Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
right? And you got to confirm all that stuff. So at the end of the day, do you just go to Domino's and put like, do you want to order the same order again? Yep, it probably takes you 30 seconds, right?
Don't you think that'll get refined though?
Yeah, I think, what it makes me think of, and we were talking about this before the show, like I can't help when I start letting my mind wander with AI, I can't help but think about Star Wars and that we're going to turn into Star Wars. We're all going to have droids and those droids will be programmed to do things and they kind of become your companion. That, might be scary for some people, but it also is what I think when I think about this operator agent, I think typing is the problem. So if I could talk to it, if it was a robot next to me and I say, hey, droid, order me a pizza, like that. Now that's quick, when I have to type all these commands. And then especially if it's like, if we get to that place where it is your droid, like you're kind of help training it and it gets to know you. And I think the thing that I started thinking about with that scenario, because it's just fun to think of that, what makes a droid maybe unique is this impression that they care about the person. Like right now, you're just telling this operator to go get you something, but if you had built into it this idea that it cares about you, like you're its owner, it's your droid, and it knows you and loves you. This is kind of getting weird, but like
In a robotic way.
right. But like it cares, and so then it's like it knows you have a peanut allergy or something, and it's like when it gets to know you, that's an interesting thing.
But it's the same, right? So if you're going to
Are
do
always-
ChatGPT, right? When you think about those things, Jordan, is it a walking computer, or is it your desktop, laptop sitting in front of you or your phone, right? It's an interesting concept, right? When you think about it, like we are going to have C-3POs or R2-D2s, right? But at the end of the day, what is the purpose behind it? Is it to have a buddy, right, that's walking around with you? Or do you take it to
trained on like it's like having, just someone like, it's like having, it's a buddy, but it's like with operator context, it's like a buddy that you can just have do whatever you want.
Yeah, again, it's cool, right? It's cool, especially, us that like Star Wars, right? I think I watch all of them, at least once a year, right? Especially the classic ones, the new ones, whatever. You still got to be a fan of it to some point. Would it be cool, like, right? It'd be cool to have a bot that does things for you. But again, is it companionship you're looking for? With maybe it does some things for you, or because then why do you need your phone, right? Why do I need this device sitting in front of me if I'm going to have a robot? Because I could just say, hey, call mom.
I think when it enters into that companion place, though, that is what's going to be uber addictive. Like, I mean, you already kind of like whenever you get a chat bot to say anything, or Siri, like, have you ever, like, if you mess around with like Siri and whenever it feels like it's interacting with you, it does something to your emotions.
So I guess, I'm in the super minority,
none of us would
right?
be able to afford it.
I'm in super minority here. I don't do that with any AI. I don't get personal. I don't ask it any questions. I've never played around with ChatGPT in any way, shape, or form. I'm so guarded with what I do for a living and myself and my family that I do not engage in any type of personal interaction with somebody that's not a human being.
That's probably a good rule to have.
Hey, again, I'm in the minority. I'm that weird guy that just does not engage in it. I just don't see the benefit of AI. And again, I'm in the minority there. I think it's you're asking a system. I thrive on the human connection, right? I want to know that I'm looking Meg in the eye. If she has a problem, I have a problem. I think it's beneficial to understand human emotions and reactions, because your voice, the way you emulate yourself, the way you're moving, AI can't do that for you. It's just very rigid. It's like getting an email, right? You can't put emotion in emails no matter how hard you try either.
Yeah.
Have you seen the kissing generator?
No.
Have you? No. So you'll find websites today where you can put pictures, upload pictures into it, and it'll create a video of those people kissing. Like, so you could, it'll think about why that's a horrible idea.
Right.
I saw someone that I'm friends with on Facebook did it. That was when I first kind of realized it existed, but now it's like blowing up. And he used it. His girlfriend passed away, and he created a picture of his girlfriend and him kissing. It's still, which is whatever. Like, I'm not judging him for doing that, but it's just the idea that exists is so weird, and the implications that could have on where society is taking all this stuff.
Well, yeah, because a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? And I think, what is it, a week ago, there was that whole Brad Pitt AI generated, like, I'm in a hospital, I need a kidney surgery or something, and some lady fell for it, and
Oh my gosh.
it's very scary that AI doesn't ask Jordan if it's okay to use your image, your likeness, your voice. To me, a lot of these AI, and it will go back to the controls, right? What's the privacy settings? If I say that I'm going to use it, am I consenting to all of those things to say, yes, go ahead and use my likeness and everything, it's okay? And I think we get wrapped up into, when you look at the TikTok and the multiple stories going around with the back end component of it, you're basically saying you can use your stuff for free. Use Meg as Meg. It's okay. She's using the app. She said, yep, that's fine. I think when you get into the kissing app, and my thoughts to him for losing his loved one, right? That's not cool. But to use that and generate something, is it that one-off type use that now becomes super popular because somebody's seen it and it touched you in your heart, right? And made you emotional. So you go, that's great. I want to do that too. It's the same thing with any other situational or security awareness thing. You're playing on people's emotions. So I always think like, oh, the bad act, that's great for the adversary to use as a tool then.
Right. Well, and think about it. I mean, it's like, it looked very real. And so, like, you could say this about a lot of stuff that AI can do, but it's like, what's real anymore? Someone,
Yeah.
sends a video of, oh, look, your husband's kissing this person. And it's like, oh, it looks so believable.
Right.
I mean,
Or another way of looking at that is, what can I trust anymore?
right. What can I trust anymore? Nothing.
Right.
Anything could be AI generated. And that's horrible in this polarized world that we live in right now, and the amount of stuff that people just kind of throw out there. Look at this, It's like,
but again, I think when you take away, yes, AI can generate things. Yes, Jordan and I are holding hands, skipping on the beach together, right? Laughing and having fun, right?
well, you can trust that one.
Is it real though? I mean, when you're looking at it, like, first of all, is it real, and who's vetting that? Right? Some AI, you can look at some AI things and say right away in 2 seconds, you're like, that's AI generated. At least the way it kind of glossy, kind of weird looking, right? But when you're really good with AI, it's really hard to determine if that's AI. So I think when we get into guardrails of AI in general, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm glad companies are working on it. It seems like with the right protections in place for society and businesses and things like that, it can be good, right? But I emphasize the can, because right now it just becomes popular. Everybody dives in head first without going, geez, I wonder if the water's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't mean to be like huge downer on this, but like, it's almost like it doesn't matter what, like, we can put guardrails in place, sure, but the capabilities exist, and it's not going to prevent any misuse
Right.
of AI. I mean, and so yeah, that is a weird question that Meg brought up. Like, what can you trust, and what does a world look like when you can't trust anything?
Right. When you think about, 170 million people in the US and TikTok, roughly, right? One simple picture of something can go viral. Is it real or not? That's the determination, right? Because we're so sparked by emotion of whether it's political, it's global, it's environmental, whatever your flavor. You could wrap religion in there, right? When somebody puts something out and it gets millions upon millions of views, we never thought for a second that it could be nonsense. And that's the part that always bothers me about social media now wrapped with AI, is who's vetting all of that? At the end of the day,
there will be a large chunk of people that will just believe it.
correct.
And always will. I don't know that will ever go away. They'll see it, and even knowing that they're just going to believe it.
But if AI is so intelligent, right? Let's think about that for a second. If AI is so intelligent and it can generate something that's completely false, don't you think that AI could also say, hey, this isn't a good idea to post this because you just made this up?
That would, to me, that would require feelings, it would require discernment.
Simulated feelings.
And it doesn't, right? Right now, generative AI doesn't have those components to it. Adaptive is super scary, right? When you're telling AI, go ahead and do all of these decisions on your own, right? Then you're in the Terminator type realm, right? Of things. So it just, I think, Meg, it is a good question. What do you trust at the end of the day? Do you trust your eyes, right? We're so focused on trusting what we see, but digitally, we only can, I think we need to look at things just for the surface that they are, and find out, with the crazy news components today that have been politicized and all of that, now nobody knows what to trust, right? And who's telling the right thing, whether you're right, left, in the middle, it doesn't really matter. Nobody really knows where to go to get the truth of things. And I think at the end of the day, we miss the source of truth.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
We got to end on a happier note, though. Someone say something happy.
That's on you.
Hey,
That's on you, Jordan.
AI with the HI.
Yeah. If you learn one thing from today, HI after the AI, is human intelligence. It's important more than ever.
Or is it HI before the AI?
That's a good question. Both. An HI sandwich.
There you go. Well, thank you, CvCISO listeners. We appreciate you and hope this has given you some insight into AI to help you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And thanks,
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah.
Meg.
Thanks for inviting me, guys.
Yep.